can be attained by somebody with simply a high school education. So more than ever before, it's essential that we get people into higher education, that we get them on a pathway while they're still in high school so they can complete a certificate or a degree and have the opportunity to go for further degrees so that they are qualified. They have marketable skills. As you know, Trustee Williams, I've got a couple of slides here from the Commissioner's State of Higher Education report, which you were quoting on. And he very much emphasizes the fact that all of our programs have to lead to marketable skills. And that might be something that's a soft skill, communication, critical thinking, but we have to relate it to students' career interests. Overwhelmingly, students come to us, their number one reason for coming to higher education is to get a job. It is to pursue a career. So they may be majoring in philosophy, which is wonderful. That trains them very expertly in critical thinking and communication and preparation for law school, perhaps. So we just need to make those connections for students to show them how we're opening up their opportunities.
Thank you. Sometimes I know we understand it here, but we get lost in the jargon.
Absolutely.
And this is public document, and we need the public to understand what we're talking about.
Absolutely. A middle skill job requiring post-secondary education and paying more than minimum wage, resulting in a wage that results in a sustainable quality of life for a family.
Thank you.
Before we go to the next goal, Trustee Williams has a.
Hopefully I'm not
Yes.
stealing the thunder from your slide coming up, but I think Commissioner Paredes, at one of the two I went to recently, said something like, he's roughly right, of the 15.6 million jobs that have been created since the downturn, new jobs, not just 15.5 of them you had to have some degree of post-secondary education to actually fill. They were actually filled by people that had to do something different. It went beyond high school. Doesn't mean that there's a lot of people not filling existing jobs that are already there, but the new jobs that have been created require some level of post-secondary. So the focus that's being messaged across the state is you've got to have some level of post-secondary education, which I'm sure you'll get to the whole 60-30 thing, to really actually take advantage of the new economy.
Thank you very much.
The last two slides, I read the Commissioner's State of Higher Education address this morning, and I thought, wow, this is fantastic. We're doing exactly what he was emphasizing in his paper. He ended his paper with 10 recommendations for us going forward, and they're all right in line with our strategic plan. One, we've got to fix developmental education. Developmental education has been a barrier for students. It's been too deep a hole out of which many students have not been able to crawl. We've got to accelerate it. We have to contextualize it. We have to modularize it. One of the breakouts I went to at the Pathways Conference was a math instructor from San Jacinto College, and I've already scheduled him to come and talk to our math instructors. They are co-requisiting all of their developmental math students except for the very maybe bottom 10%, meaning they're taking their developmental math and a college level math at the same time. It's just-in-time developmental education to find out exactly what you need to do well to pass college math, college statistics, or college algebra. And their success rates are phenomenal. They're like 50, 60, 70%, whereas with the traditional developmental math, you saw the results were more like at 10%. So it's a trend that we have to take advantage of, and we're going to study that and move forward. We have to facilitate transfer. The legislators have told us that spoke at the Pathways Conference, one of the primary complaints they get from parents and constituents is that their sons and daughters' courses don't transfer. I was very happy to read this in this report that the coordinating board is going to work more intently on fields of study, regional articulation, and co-enrollment programs. Just recently, the latest field of study that the coordinating board put out was architecture. And I thought, fantastic, we've got a terrific team of faculty that can teach an associate of science degree in architecture. And Dr. Rhodes had a co-enrollment program with Texas Tech at El Paso. So we're going to reach out to them to get a co-enrollment program in architecture. And this is the way we really need to go to guarantee students all of your courses are going to transfer. Reinvent financial aid. You heard our student government representative talking about OER. We're working on that now as we speak to ultimately come up with the whole degree that will use OER. The commissioner said expand dual credit carefully. In his paper, I think Mike and I were talking, there's somewhat of a misconception there. He was saying that only a third of the students are college ready, and yet maybe more than a third are taking dual credit. Well, you can take a dual credit course in history if you're college ready in reading and writing. You don't have to be college ready in reading, writing, and math. And so his 1/3 statistic there is a little misleading. And in terms of the data, as Dr. Rhodes was talking about, if you look at the data today, dual credit students have a higher graduation rate, 6-year graduation rate with a baccalaureate degree than native students starting at the university. So this argument about rigor and quality, maybe it's true in some parts of the state, but it's certainly not true overall. Nonetheless, we have already signed a dual credit collaborative agreement with UT, and we're going to start the conversation about how do we collaboratively define what constitutes rigor, what constitutes quality, because we want to be there. We want our courses to be rigorous and quality.
Dr. McRaven?
Yeah. What about Texas State? Are we going to try to do the same thing with them?
Yes. We have worked with Alamo Community College in something called Guided Pathways to Success, a regional collaborative, and we're going to work collectively to schedule a meeting with their faculty and our faculty so that we can hopefully make some progress there.
Okay.
Prioritize teacher education, not really applicable to us, more so to the universities, although we start students on their road to becoming faculty. Expand collaboration among P-12, higher ed, and workforce development. Train higher ed faculty to become good teachers. Whereas high school teachers do get a lot of training in pedagogy, we get many faculty who really haven't had training in pedagogy. They're experts in their subject matter, but oftentimes they really haven't had courses in classroom management, discipline, pedagogy, et cetera. We kicked off something called Project ACC this semester, where we've invited 15 faculty, some are full-time, some are part-time, to research, create, and test active and collaborative learning strategies, because the research shows that is more effective. And at the end of the year, they will host a faculty institute at which we will invite more faculty to come experience the same sort of training and send them on their way to research, create, pilot, et cetera. So we're hoping this train the trainer sort of movement will be embraced by our faculty, and I know it will be. Expand advising. You heard Virginia is busy. Very busy these days, hiring new
If I may,
advisors and
Dr.
training
Cook,
new advisors.
John, is there any reason that the board is not seeing, I know Dr. Cook is a good-looking guy, and we like seeing him, but for some reason, it keeps,
Oh, I'm sorry.
presentation keeps going off.
Behind us, but
Yeah, well, I mean, it's on the main screens, it's not on our computers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It pops off. You keep coming up, and I mean, you know.
here it is again.
Okay.
Okay, there, it's
Very
there,
good.
it needs to just stay on.
Apparently the guys in the booth are listening, so.
Go ahead.
The very last recommendation from the commissioner, of course, is the one that's all important, and that is make it all about students. Make your focus all about students, everything you do, and that's absolutely what we have done in this proposed strategic plan. So with that, let me take any questions or comments that you might have.
Got Dr. Menk, and then we'll move from there.
Well, first of all, Dr. Cook, I want to say thank you for highlighting the additional material. That was very helpful. I read over and over item number 3 on page 3. I think there are just some really core words in that principle. Provide efficiently delivered, high-quality instruction that matches student and community needs. So I like the "and" part. Rapid student progress, and the only thing that's a little bit is minimize requirements that are not essential. I hope that doesn't mean that we just stick with a very technical, we don't miss the creative part, the critical thinking, the communication, the problem-solving piece.
And just really quickly, page 46 and then page 3 of the actual, kind of in
page
the middle.
46,
number 3, okay.
And then it says, I like your "and," successful employment and educational advancement. Because I think that, to me, if I was looking at the STEM versus STEAM kind of continuum, I'm more on the STEAM area, where teaching people their creative process and how to think and how to evaluate, to me is important. I think you highlighted that there. The thing that I also highlighted was on page 49, under your objective 1, the idea of the stackable credentials. I think that is extremely important. So people are not losing any time. They can do X, and then if they do X plus Y, then that gives them another degree, and then they can transfer, and then they can get the baccalaureate if they want to, or they can go into the industry. So I really like what you've done. I've liked the additions, and I really was looking at that one particular goal very early on, the principle that I think has a lot of key words in it that really validate what we're doing at the college. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mack. We'll move with Trustee Sosa, and then Trustee Richard, and then Dr. Wong.
I really like the plan. Everything concentrates or focuses on the student and the needs of the student and the community, which I really like that you're going to look at the community for what do they need, what do we need to provide them.
Absolutely.
Because that speaks to what I think is valuable. There are a couple of things that I don't know where they go, and they may not even have to be here, but one of them, I think that we need to create awareness on the part of the students of how important it is that they pay back their financial aid, they get loans, because I believe, I may be wrong, that impacts on our ability, the college's ability to provide financial aid to other students. And I think that if they knew the consequences of their actions, that they would be more likely to pay back, because I think sometimes I don't think it matters, or they just, it's not important to them, but we need to convey the importance of their paying back, because it impacts the future.
Absolutely, totally agree. As you know, we have a Title III grant, which is allowing us to establish a money management office. And we have an outstanding director in that office, and she's holding workshops and seminars and providing information to the students in our Student Success course. So,
But to me, isn't this more than just teaching them how to do a budget and how to stick to it? Is what are the consequences of this particular action? It doesn't just affect you and your credit, but affects the ability of the college to help others.
Correct.
And that might be more compelling to them than their credit rating.
What are the consequences of repeating, and now that class is twice as expensive, that
Correct.
sort of thing, right? Yeah.
And then the other comment, well, I have two more. The other, I don't know where you would put it, is building loyalty in the students from the moment they come in and as they go through their classes and through the course at ACC, loyalty to give back once they get their degree and once they get that fabulous job, turn back and give something.
actually,
for others.
that conversation kind of came up, I think, with Dr. Malcolm and myself. As you know, she has renamed her office Community Engagement, And we were talking about what are the metrics by which we might be able to measure our success. And stressing the importance in tracking students' involvement in service learning and civic engagement activities, student clubs even that relate to, like the Blue Santa you were hearing going on. What's it mean to be a good citizen and to partake in the life of the community? Dr. Rhodes recently attended a conference at ETS, and they've actually developed an instrument by which you can survey students to judge their awareness of the importance of civic engagement and help them understand the importance of that. And we're going to actually pilot the administration of that instrument to see if it's something we should use going forward.
And you know, and that as I thought about this, I remember my English professor, Our Lady of the Lake, who had us subscribe to the Atlantic, and one of the so that we could read and write. One of the articles said, "Mom, my check is in the mail," and they was actually talking about the alma mater and sending back contributions to the school because they felt that desire, that compelling
Pay it forward.
need
Yeah.
to give something back. And then the other one is at the conference for the Higher Education Board had a few, in the last week, I think was, there was a lady who talked about helping students and maybe encouraging our professors to use more open source books, materials. And she talked about Rice University having a lot of materials out there that just for our use.
We actually have a faculty workshop this Friday, in addition to our grant program to create and develop our own OERs, which, by the way, Rice University's OpenStax textbooks are a primary source. We're also working with several other vendors that offer low-cost materials. They're not free, but yet they're substantially below what some of the proprietary textbooks are.
I don't know where you would put any of those things, but I'm sure that you will do that.
Well, a lot of those details will actually be fleshed out in terms of the task and the strategies under these broad statements that our various departments will use to show that they're fulfilling that goal.
And I